Welcome to Chapter 10. In this chapter we're going to be talking about geometry. So in this first lesson, it's all about triangles. Here's some background knowledge that the book doesn't share with you that you need to know for this lesson. So triangles. There are two ways to classify triangles. You can classify triangles by their sides and or their angles. Okay, so if you're classifying triangles by their sides and all of the sides are congruent or equal, it's called an equilateral. If two of the sides are congruent, it's called an isosceles. And if none of the sides are congruent or equal, it's a scalene. Another way to classify triangles is by its angles. So angles are where the line segments meet. If all three of the angles are acute, it's an acute angle. If one of the angles is a right angle, it's called a right triangle. Think about, could all of the angles be right in a triangle? Think about trying to make it a triangle with all right angles. That actually makes a square. So that's why there's only one right angle. Same with obtuse. Obtuse only has one obtuse angle because can you make a triangle with three obtuse angles? No, it's not possible. The only other background knowledge that you're going to need to know is that the sum of all the angles in a triangle equal 180 degrees. So if I were to add all the angle measurements in this triangle, if I got a protractor out and measured them, they would equal 180 degrees. Alright, so the first thing you're going to have to do is classify a triangle by its angle measurements. Classifying a triangle by its angle measurements. So they're going to give you a triangle and some information like this. We have to decide, now this says by its angle measurements. There are two ways to classify a triangle. When it's talking about its angles, these are the three options you have. Is it acute, right, or is it obtuse? Okay, I can't really tell. It looks like this is an acute triangle, but maybe they drew it off scale. So I have to figure out these missing angle measurements before I can decide if it's acute, right, or obtuse. So up here, we said that the sum of the angles of a triangle always equal 180 degrees. Well, we can add all three of these up and find the missing angle to find x. Okay, so all three of these are going to equal 180 degrees. We're going to add them right in. This is an equation. Our goal is to solve for x. We haven't done this in a while. You're going to look for like terms. Like terms are variables raised to the same power. Do you see on the same side of the equal sign on the left side, I have two terms that are like? I'm going to go ahead and combine them. Because I'm not bringing it to the opposite side, I'm not going to do the opposite. I'm not going to subtract this over here. When they're on the same side, you do whatever it says. So this 2 plus 2 is 4. And copy everything else down. It's a positive 4x, so I'm going to put a plus sign. Again, we're trying to solve for x. I want to get x by itself, so I'm going to bring the 60 over first. 4x. Divide both sides by 4. So I find out that x equals 30. Now remember, we need to know all three sides of this triangle before I can classify. This side is 60. I don't have to do any math. This is 2 times whatever our x is. So 2 times 30 is actually 60. This right here is also 2 times 30, which is 60 degrees. So I have all acute angles. Acute angles are less than 90 degrees. So that must mean that this is an acute triangle. Okay? Well, let's try finding unknown side lengths. and they're going to give you a triangle. Let's draw. But it's talking about the side lengths, not the angles anymore. So you're going to see numbers by the sides. And the only way to find unknown side lengths is if you know the perimeter of the triangle. And they're also going to give you that information. All triangles are going to have different perimeters. So like before when we were dealing with angles, a triangle's angles will always equal 180. The perimeter is going to differ though. So the book will give you the perimeter. They will give you all this information. But you find the missing side lengths the same way we did above in the last problem. The perimeter of any shape is the side lengths added up together. So I'm going to take, it doesn't matter what order you add, equals 65. These three side lengths equal 65. Okay, so now again, if you have like terms on one side of the equal sign, you combine them first. Always take that sign out in front. Because they are on the same side, I'm going to do whatever it says. And when you have a variable by itself, there's always a 1 in front of it. So 1 plus 2 is 3x. Bring the non-variable term over first. Get x by itself. Okay, so our goal was to find the missing side lengths. Let's go back up to our picture. We know that this side length right here is 20 centimeters. This side length is whatever x is, so this is 15. This side length is 2 times x, or 2 times 15. So this is 30 centimeters. You can now classify this triangle according to its sides. Okay, it looks like I have all different sides. None of them are the same. So that means, we look at what we did above here. We're classifying by the sides now. If none of the sides are congruent, it's called a scalene. Okay, last type of problem right here. They're going to ask you to find angle measures using ratios. So you might get a problem that says something like this. The ratio of the angle measures of a triangle is 7, 9, 20. Find the angle measures, then classify the triangle by its angle measures. So we're dealing with the ratio 7 to 9 to 20. Again, you're dealing with angles. Think about what the sum of the angles equal in a triangle, 180. So you're going to set this information equal to 180. 7 times something plus 9 times something plus 20 times something equals 180. You're solving for x. You want to figure out x. So these are all like terms. I'm going to combine them. This says 7 plus 9 is 16, plus 20 is 36. Get x by itself by dividing. So x equals 180 divided by 36 is 5. Okay, now that's only x. It's not the sum of the angles in the triangle. You're going to have to multiply x by every number in the ratio. So 7 times 5, 9 times 5, and 20 times 5. 7 times 5 is 35 degrees. 9 times 5 is 45 degrees. 20 times 5 added all three of those up, it would be equal to 180 degrees, and that's how much a triangle equals. Our directions, if you remember at the beginning, said not only find the missing angle measures, also classify the triangle. You have to look for either all acute angles, one right angle, or one obtuse angle. So they're not all acute. This is bigger than 90 degrees. I don't have a right angle. A right angle is 90 degrees. But I do have an obtuse angle. Because I have one obtuse angle, this triangle is obtuse.